The yields that I'm about to show you in this video are going to absolutely blow your mind. Welcome to Farms of the Month. This is December 2024 and we're back with a bunch of different strategies. In fact, I think I've got about 14 or 15 strategies. I'll have to count them up because I've actually lost count of how many tabs I've got open. But anyway, without further ado, we're going to jump into a few different strategies that you can use to earn some juicy yield on your ETH, your Bitcoin, your Solana, your stablecoins, maybe even a few other delta neutral strategies as well whilst we're at it. There's going to be a lot on your plate here, and we're looking at not just 5, 10, 20% yields, we're looking at 30, 40, 50, even 60 plus percent yields. So some pretty juicy ones. We've got a wide range to show you. These are just what I think are some of the best around for the month of December. And so yeah, they're going to be some that I think are definitely suited to you. We're going to start off by looking at Mantle. And why are we looking at Mantle? Well, Mantle have fairly recently introduced their new liquid restaking token called CMETH, and now CMETH actually earns points, which is in the form of powder. And one of the interesting things that I think is important to know is that CMETH is an asset that earns from a variety of other sources as well. Just by holding CMETH, you're going to earn airdrops, and in a variety of sources, from the ecosystem airdrops to the actual eigenlayer and restaking protocols as well. You will earn Cook rewards too, some infrastructure rewards as well. There's a variety of airdrops essentially, which is why I think this LRT is actually one of the better ones to hold right now. And what's really interesting is that you can actually kind of leverage up or earn more points or more yields by using some of your CMETH in some of these different strategies. Now, the one that I'm kind of interested in is of course going to be the Pendle one at the top. Why? Because pretty good points powder per day, but also the fact that with Pendle you can actually earn yield, and that's because right now with the LP you can earn an additional 7%. So this is like an additional yield on top, which I think is really nice. Plus, remember, you're going to be earning these restaking protocol points. You're going to earn powder, some infrastructure as well. I mean, if you're feeling a bit degen, go with the YT. Not really recommending that at the moment because YT does eventually trend to zero. So you're essentially speculating on, the kind of airdrop component here. I think if you still want to just have the exposure to ETH and you think ETH is going to go up, then yeah, I think this one is, pretty interesting to me. Talking about Mantle, one interesting thing that I did actually notice as well was the Mantle reward station, where you can actually lock your MNT tokens and earn Athena. Now, there's around $4 million of Athena that is going to be given out. Athena's token ENA. And I think what's interesting here is I picked this up from Steven, the calculator guy. He wrote a tweet about this. What's interesting is that you can actually delta neutral farm this one. So you can deposit your MNT in here, and it should be kind of paying you around 30% based on the ENA rewards. You do have to lock in. Well, you don't have to lock in, but if you do lock in, you will get a bit of a bonus. What you can then do is you can go on to a Perps exchange and short MNT. So you've essentially got a delta neutral position. Now on the short side, you're gonna at the moment earn 11%, but this did recently shoot up, so it is going to be looking like you're earning around about 40-50% APY if you kind of hold this position for a while, which I think is pretty decent, earning funding rates and ENA rewards eventually. So if you do hold some MNT, this could be another interesting one for you. The last one that I found around the Mantle ecosystem is through Dolomite. Dolomite, I think, are one of the most well-known money markets available now. And what I found was that on Dolomite, the simple deposit assets are absolutely printing. As you can see on the screen right now, USDC real yield 54%. Why is it so high? Clearly people are leveraged up, whether they're leveraged up on the PT tokens, or I think Athena is certainly contributing to it. But yeah, that's pretty wild. Very, very wild, actually. Is this going to last? Probably not. It will get arbed. So I think this probably will come down in due time. But I mean, for the moment, you're earning some of the best stablecoin yields around that I've seen in a long, long time. So yeah, 53% on USDC. Pretty good, actually. And this is also on Mantle. So we've got a few different Mantle strategies, whether it's with CMETH, kind of doing it in any of the different strategies that we talked about, including Pendle, the MNT strategy on the Mantle reward station, and also kind of just using stablecoins on the Mantle ecosystem like USDT on Dolomite. Dolomite, of course, will also be on Bearer Chain, so I think that is one to keep an eye out on, keep an eye out on this one for sure. Anyway, moving on, we're going to next talk about Solv. Now, Solv is actually the biggest BTC ecosystem protocol, and one of the reasons why they're so big is because they have a crazy amount of BTC deposited. They have billions and billions in TVL, and one of the interesting things is now that they do have their TGE coming up in December. But what's interesting is, ignore the TGE, ignore all of those rewards. The LSTs that Solv have actually are really interesting. Why? Because they give BTC some productive yield. And there's three strategies right now that are yield generating. The last one, of course, Babylon. We'll have to wait and see when Babylon launched that token. But there's a Jupiter strategy, Athena strategy, and Core strategy. So it depends entirely up to you. What do you want to earn your yield from? When it comes to Bitcoin. So with the Jupiter strategy, you're earning yield coming from the trading fees that happen on Jupiter. With the Athena strategy, you're earning from the funding rate arbitrage that Athena is doing. And with Core, you're validating proof of stake chains, aka Core. Now, right now, the Core yield is pretty damn high. Didn't expect it to go all the way up to 18%, but pretty decent actually. And so yeah, decide which one you want. Anyway, double-digit yields on your Bitcoin, plus on top of that, earning Solv points, which will give you the airdrop in due time. Yeah, pretty nice. So keep an eye out on that TGE as well. That should be sometime this month. And hopefully, for those of you who have been farming this for quite some time, that is some, a nice extra reward coming your way later this month. Moving on, we're going to talk about Fractality. Fractality is one of the most interesting, kind of really not well-known protocols around. And I think part of the reason is because this is the highest yielding stablecoin protocol that I've seen around at the moment. Right now, it's paying 60% APY real yield on your USDT. Now, where does this yield come from? Fractality run a variety of quant strategies, including funding rate arb, but also LPing. They do this on and off chain. And so right now you can simply deposit your USDT this on Arbitrum, and yeah, you'll be earning 58% in their vaults at the moment. Now, of course, there are some things that you do need to be aware of. When it comes to withdrawing, you have to wait 24 hours. And also right now, the TVL is only 500,000, so it is very, very small. Should hopefully in due time grow, but I think this is a pretty interesting one for sure as well. One thing that's interesting about Fractality is that they will be on Hyperliquid, and I think when they are on Hyperliquid, they're definitely going to get some eyes on them, and I would expect TVL to grow quite significantly from that point onward. So yeah, here's another one. Again, this one's a very simple deposit and earn strategy, so nothing too complicated there, but yeah, another one for you guys if interested. Moving on, we're going to talk about Timeswap. Timeswap have consistently had some pretty good farms. I think it's one to kind of just keep your eye out on, especially because like right now they have USDT kind of paying 66%. Some of this is coming in the form of trade tokens. This is Polytrade, the Polytrade pool. You do have to be a little bit kind of wary of like which pools you're kind of depositing in, just because you do have some exposure to the other asset if the price changes or deviates a lot. But I think keep an eye out on here, especially for stablecoins and ETH strategies. They often have some pretty interesting ones, and you can often loop as well. So yeah, for now, I think that is the best pool. They do change down, week after week. So I think probably by the time you're watching this, there might even be some new pools around. And I think if there are, then yeah, you might find something interesting there for you too. Moving on, we're going to talk about JLP. JLP is the liquidity pool token for the Jupiter Perps exchange, and this acts as the counterparty to the traders. And what JLP is it is essentially an index of these assets: SOL, ETH, BTC, and your two stables. And you can see that the target is, or the weighting is definitely exposed in favor of SOL, but you do have a general balance. A third of this is stable coins as well, and this earns the fees generating from perp trading activities on the platform. Now, right now, the fees are really, really high, hence why right now you're seeing the APY at 55%. You can actually take this one step further because JLP is a liquid token actually, and you can go to a money market like Kamino, borrow stable coins against it, and essentially leverage up, which is why I think at the moment with JLP you can earn triple digit yields on your kind of basket of index. Now, because the demand for borrowing is so high, we're seeing very, very high rates on the likes of USDC, PayPal USD, I should say, 27% there. And even if you kind of have a look at some of these assets like USDS, you can get 33%, and this is because they are incentivizing this a little bit too. So some interesting rewards there. I think if you do actually hold some Bitcoin too, like CB, BTC, you can earn double digits as well. I think that's also an interesting one for you guys too, especially if you wanted to use it as collateral and borrow something against it. So yeah, overall, some very, very good yields across the board on Kamino. And I think the most interesting thing to me at the moment right now is the ability to kind of loop your JLP. And JLP is, has been a monster of an asset the entire cycle so far. Kind of expecting that to continue for the moment anyway. Moving on to GMX, we're going to look at the liquidity pool tokens for GMX, and this is actually really, really interesting. A number of reasons. Number one, they have these single-sided liquidity pool tokens which don't have impermanent loss. And this is really, really interesting because you can earn the fees that come from traders, but also the P&L. You get exposed to that. And I think over time, P&L, which GMX say is likely to be neutral, isn't. I think most people will actually end up losing money. And therefore, I think the APY that's actually described here is actually lower than what it is in reality. In reality, I think it's a little bit higher than this. Second thing that's interesting is that you can actually go to money markets like Dolomite, which we talked about in this video, leverage up with these GM tokens. So GM BTC, GM ETH, GM SOL, you just got to make sure that you pick the one that doesn't have the USDC exposure or the USD exposure attached to it. And yeah, you can borrow some stables, loop that if you want, kind of giving you leveraged exposure to GMX fees, which I think in markets like this, it's only a good thing. So yeah, at the moment, it only says that your BTC APY is 5%. I think in reality, it's a little bit higher than that, especially because traders probably will continue to lose money. But of course, you can kind of do all kinds of crazy things when you introduce money markets on top of that. Next, we're going to talk about Brahma, and I think the best thing about Brahma's account is that any of the strategies that I've just talked about, you can do them through Brahma. Brahma is like your UX built on top of Safe, the multi-sig wallet. Really, really lovely interface. So I think, yeah, go and create an account. I'll leave a link to it in the description below if you're watching this on YouTube. Otherwise, yeah, go and give it a go. I mean, I think it's actually... So yeah, go and check out Brahma. I'll leave a link to it in the description. I think it's actually one of the better places to actually hold your assets because it's a multi-sig. It's built on Safe, you've got that security. And you can do all of your DeFi activity through this one app. And they have a points program, which you know what that means. Points mean prizes. I think we can all speculate on that one. Right, moving on, we're going to talk about an interesting one, a little bit more degen. I think this has been one of the more fun places to play around with. This is Radium, and you may know that kind of a lot of the meme coin activity happens on Solana, and all of the liquidity for these assets sits on Radium. Being an LP for some of these meme coins can actually be very, very profitable if you're able to manage them correctly. And when I talk about LPing, I'm talking about concentrate liquidity. You can see a few examples here. These are some of the AI agent coins. This is Griffin. Currently paying 3,500% APR. This clearly adds up, day after day. And I think if you're able to manage your positions in a tight range, and also kind of keep an eye on kind of assets going out of the range, I think generally you're going to be printing here. And so yeah, this does need quite some active management when it comes to like what you need to do. But I think, look, you can clearly see here, look, liquidity for this pool, 350,000, fees generated in the last 24 hours, pretty much 10%. What that means is in one day you can make 10% on your LP. And yeah, as long as you're able to kind of outweigh your fees, you will kind of don't have to really worry about impermanent loss there. So yeah, has been a pretty interesting one. I think one of the things that is pretty interesting to do is to keep an eye out on some of the new meme coins that you're possibly looking at buying or looking at to accumulate. Maybe you want to kind of just dollar cost average in, and you can do that by providing liquidity. As the price goes down, your exposure to the asset will increase. So that is one thing. Plus you'll be earning the fees associated with it. And if the fees are pretty good, after a period of like 2 or 3 days, you might be able to kind of get 30% discount essentially on kind of what you were purchasing. So this is kind of one of the reasons why I like LPing, one of the reasons why I've been playing around with Radium too, especially with the recent AI agent craze, which I've been really enjoying. So yeah, have a look and play around. You'll find that if you make your range a little bit even more tighter actually, that you'll actually be able to print even a little bit more. So yeah, have a look, find some of your new pairs even. I think the craziest farms that I've been in have been 100,000% APRs, which just are wild. You can make 10-20% in like a couple of hours, if that. So yeah, play around with it. It's good fun anyway, and that's just another more degen play when it comes to your farming activity for December. Moving on, we're going to talk about Lombard. Again, another Bitcoin DeFi protocol. Why am I talking about it? They haven't had that airdrop yet, and I think that we are getting close to kind of some of these DeFi protocols eventually having their airdrops. There are interesting strategies that you can do with this, whether it's on Pendle or whether it's on Aerodrome, LPing, or whether you're kind of lending on base, on Morpho, I should say. So yeah, there's kind of tons of things for you to do with your LBTC. Again, I think it's a one that I think will have pretty decent value when it comes to airdrop. I don't know how much you're going to get. Obviously, it depends on kind of you making sure that you keep on top of your points earnings. But again, just another one that I wanted to mention there. Fluid is really interesting, more because, in my opinion, because of some of the assets that you can borrow with their smart collateral, using kind of LP tokens, getting leveraged exposure to your DEX LPs. I think that's really cool. But right now, you can just simply lend USDC and earn 30%. I mean, that is pretty wild for an application like Fluid. So yeah, pretty straightforward. Not really much for me to kind of mention here, other than the fact that you can earn 30% by simply just lending out USDC, which is just wild, really wild. Really goes to show the kind of market conditions that we're in right now. We're going to go to a classic, and this is Curve. Now you might be wondering, why on earth are you on Fraxtal? The reason why I'm on Fraxtal is because of this. Look at this, Frax SUSDC USDE. This is Athena's staked stablecoin, earning minimum 50 to 130% in CRV tokens right now. Now CRV has been on a bit of a craze recently, up multiple X's, and that's probably some of the reason why the CRV rewards are so high. But even if you want to just farm stablecoin like Frax USDC, if you have the max boost, you can earn 40%. With Frax and USDE, 30%. So yeah, I think lots of pretty interesting strategies for you there. Curve also on Ethereum, if we go to that, does have some pretty interesting stuff going on here as well. If it will load for me, you've got like something like this, the FETH, which is from FX Protocol, Frax base pool. Why is this interesting? Because FETH is essentially a stable coin. It's not exactly a stable coin, but it feels like a stable coin. It moves at 1/10 the price of ETH. So yeah, this is pretty stable. Yet look at the APR that you're earning there. I mean, 70% to 173%. Pretty wild, just wild rewards. I think across the board on Curve, I don't think people are paying attention to this. And yeah, look, you can find a bunch of different stablecoin pools here, and yeah, print for the moment. So enjoy this whilst it lasts. It won't last forever, but I think for the moment, you can definitely earn some absolutely insanely stacked rewards. Now, talking about FX, they also have some insane rewards. Again, probably because the FXN token is up massively. And that means like as a base, you can earn like 30% across the board. Like not 10%, not 15%, not 20%. We're talking 30% at minimum, at times even 50%. And if you have like your multiplier or your bonus kind of at max, triple digits. Yeah, you can see clearly on screen right now. Look, BTC USD stability pool. There's a stable coin that you're depositing. There's 1 million plus in some of these pools as well. Yeah, pretty insane. Pretty insane. We're also going to cover Hyperliquid, of course, one of the craziest airdrops in recent times. HLP continues to be a money printer, 40% over the APR at the moment, which again just goes to show you like just how unprofitable traders are, including myself. I did definitely contribute to HLP quite a lot over the period of the last 12 months. But again, you know, if you want to just simply deposit and earn, HLP might be something interesting for you there. And last but not least, we're going to talk about the OG. It's Aave. It's one of the more well-known, the biggest money market, or the second biggest app in DeFi when it comes to TVL. Simply just deposit and earn. Right now on USDC you can earn 20%, but if you do go to some of these other chains, maybe Base, right now that's only 14%. Maybe you go to Arbitrum, right now that is a little bit lower as well actually. Try out some of these other chains, you will find opportunities where you can earn even more than 20%. So yeah, play around, have a look. Whether if you find some, great, but otherwise just stick to ETH mainnet, earn 20% on your stables, happy days. I mean, how often do we see markets like this? This is like Anchor Protocol, 20% on your stables, real yield on Aave. Pretty damn good. So yeah, I think with that, I'll wrap it up there. We've covered a lot of different strategies. Let me know what your favorite is right now. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and we'll be back with many more educational farming, DeFi, and all kind of other on-chain videos in the not so distant future.